Grimgor Ironhide, the Fist of Gork, is an unstoppable force that loves nothing more than fighting and crumping his way through everything and anything that gets in his path. First to enter the fray of battle and last to leave, Grimgor marches alongside the Immortals, clad in their signature black orc armor as they lay waste to dwarves, men, and anything else foolish enough to fight them. If you're looking to charge headfirst into battle and collect some teeth, then it's time to take up the banner of Grimgor Ironhide. In the lore, Grimgor came from the east, deep within the Darklands with only a handful of his infamous immortals by his side. He set up his home in the northern Red Eye Mountains, where an endless supply of Dawi, Kislevites, and Skaven kept him fighting all year round. But as any Total War player can tell you, fighting the same armies over and over again can get a little boring. So he headed back east in search of new things to smash. First, he smashed the Necksnappers tribe. Then, he bumped into his old slave masters, the Chaos Dwarves, and shattered their cities. Next, he met
Ogres, my lord,
where he killed Greasiest Goldtooth using his own scepter and rallied the ogre tribes under his banner. After, he smashed down the Great Wall of Cathay and burned the great fleets of Nippon. It seemed like nothing could stop Grimgor, until he was magically teleported to the final battle with Archaon the Everchosen, who he also beat the tar out of and only lost because Archaon merged with a Chaos Demon. Grimgor is the best of the best. In Total War Warhammer, his faction ability is the Harbinger of Gork. This gives early access to Black Orc big bosses and adds Black Orcs to his WoG since he is the once and future Git. Some increased movement speed to reflect his journey east, and then some upkeep production of Black Orcs and Biggins to help maintain his endgame armies. Grimmy himself gets some more leadership and armor for his Black Orcs, collects extra teeth from fighting, has a unique armor-piercing WoG, and gets a special debuff skill that lets him absolutely dumpster enemy heroes. Grimgor is a warlord, which means he doesn't just command his armies, he leads them on the battlefield from the front lines. When building a skill tree, I recommend focusing on the yellow line first, and making sure that Grimgor is the one orc army that lives up to his lore. After that, you'll want to buff the boys as much as possible, since they will be making up the majority of your army, and then you can fill the other points depending on your playstyle. Grabbing Lightning Strike helps deal with Skaven and Chaos, and Riders can stack well with other orc buffs, but the choice is yours. The key to Grimgor is ensuring that he's always front row center in the battles, with a heavily armed WoG to come in like a wrecking ball after him. For research, it should come as no surprise that you'll be focusing on the orc skills over the goblin ones, though ultimately the greenskin tech tree is pretty quick and you should end up with everything researched by the end of your campaign. Healy Mushrooms is a tech I always like to highlight as 10% replenishment adds up a lot when you have a melee-centric army that's always fighting, but you should focus on the orc upgrades and relevant scrap upgrades based on your army composition. Speaking of scrap, the Greenskins have two unique mechanics to their campaign. The scrap upgrades let you customize your units with a few variations, with each legendary lord having a special unique upgrade as well. Grimgor gets special Immortals armor for his Black Orcs, which improves their leadership and adds a fear effect to each unit. You'll want to apply these upgrades to any unit that's surviving the meat grinder, but make sure to keep an eye on them in combat, as scrap only trickles in from fighting and raiding. So losing units with a scrap upgrade can be a serious setback. The other unique mechanic is the WoG. As Grimgor gains a reputation for fighting, he'll be able to call other greenskins to join his mighty WoG. Pick a target you want to flatten, wait a few turns for the WoG to gather, and then watch as every army you have doubles in size and burns cities with ease. The WoG is a very powerful mechanic that makes your armies extremely difficult to beat simply due to their sheer number. But be warned that an army this size is significantly slowed down, and you'll be more vulnerable to ambushes and lightning strikes. My recommended army compositions often look like this. A thick line of orcs at the front plays into Greenskin's strengths and lets you overwhelm most other front lines. Biggins and cavalry counter other flanking units pretty well, and the goblin archers can hold up surprisingly well into the late game if you upgrade them with the armor-piercing scrap. You can build effective goblin armies, especially if you're playing Grom or Skarsnik, but generally I recommend sticking to orcs because of the tech and buildings that we're going to be prioritizing as Grimgor. Battle strategies for orcs is pretty, well, orcish. Charge forward and smash one-to-one into the enemy. Any extra units can wrap around and focus ranged or hammer the anvil. Set Grimgor against enemy heroes and lords and watch as he uses Gitsnick to chop them clean in half. The number advantage from WoGs is going to win you most fights, which can make Greenskins a good beginner faction as you learn how to micro in combat. For magic, the greenskins get access to big and little wogs for orcs and goblins, plus death magic on the troll hags. Focusing on the big wog, since we're primarily playing an orc army, you'll note that most of the spells either do damage or increase melee attack. To effectively use big wog, you gotta think like an orc. Use the Fist of Gork and Here We Go when charging into battle to ensure that your opening hits pack a serious punch. Then, when your green tide is surrounding the blob of enemies, you can drop a Brain Bursta or the Foot of Gork on top of them for massive damage. Headbutt is useful if you're trying to punch through a front line so you can get to the ranged and artillery units. And then Gaze of Mork can help Grimgor finish off a fleeing enemy hero so that the big boss can get back into the action. On the campaign layer, your opening moves should focus on securing Death Pass ASAP and then bringing the fight to those stunty Dowie. Grimgor gets Black Orc Big Boss recruitment right away. So once you've taken Iron Rock on the first turn, I recommend you grab one of these big bosses for the upcoming fight. March towards Carrick-Drawn and the army should come attack you on the field. When a war boss beats another war boss in battle, they can immediately confederate their entire faction without penalties. So use this to take the city without a siege, and then hop back to Black Crag and wage war against Carrick-Azul. Carving through the mountains to the south should build up your wog, which you can then use to push against Karaza-Karak and ensure that Thorgrim doesn't snowball. After that, the world is yours for the taking. Greenskins don't make good friends. They can't trade with other factions, and almost everybody is going to hate you all campaign. So embrace that. You can make allies with other greenskins like Wurzag, and once they've built up a bunch of territory and walked their armies haphazardly near your armies, turn on them. Break every agreement you have, ruin your reputation, and confederate them through combat. Everyone hates you anyway, so your reputation doesn't matter. Only fighting matters. And don't forget to raid often. Greenskins have a special raiding camp stance that lets them heal in enemy territories while they raid it for loot. Use this on friend and foe alike to ensure that your army is always in top shape. Plus, it generates scrap, builds your wog meter, buffs your armies, and takes no movement to change stance into. Raid early and raid often to ensure that you can build up a right proper wog that even Gork could be proud of. Or maybe even Mork. If you'd like to learn more about Total War Warhammer and how to play other factions, then hit that like and subscribe. Or you can come check me out live during the week at twitch.tv/agent1. In the meantime, get the choppers, boys. It's time for a war!